the sword, and you will join me. Choose the ball, and you join your mother in death. You don't understand my words, but you must choose.
Truth is our gun. We believe it to be man's greatest weapon against the devil.
Been scaring each other for as long as there's been a Halloween. But how long is that? Where does it come from? And why do we put on disguises and carve jack-o'-lanterns? To indulge our darkest fears? Unlocking the secrets of Halloween means discovering how it all began thousands of years ago.
Let's look at the origins of Halloween, right? But first, let's get the scripture. Let's get to Isaiah 14 and pick it up at verse 12. All right, because this is the crux of the matter of what Satan is trying to do. All right, Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. How are you fallen from Shamayim, O Lucifer, son of the howling morning? How are you cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations?
See, that's so Satan, a.k.a. Lucifer, right? He fell from the Shamayim. You got to understand, this dude, when you read in Ezekiel 28, it said that he was the covering cherub. All right, so you remember when the Most High told Mashal to construct the Ark of the Covenant, right? What did he tell Mashal to put on the Ark of the Covenant? You got the mercy seat, which represents the Most High's throne, and you got two cherubims. Satan sat right next to the Most High guarding the throne. So this is why he's so wise, why he was so beautiful. This is why he's such a formidable foe on the left-hand side now. So it said that he fell from Shamayim, and now he's cut down, and now he's weakening the nations. He's the one actually that's going through wreaking havoc throughout these nations and fooling people into worshiping him, right? With April, we're going to go into the dark times of the year and go into our dark selves and all of this madness. What is this? You know, it's nothing but it's a reflection of what Satan wants, right? Drop down to verse 14. This is what he ultimately wants, right?
Verse 14.
As it is written.
I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
He said he will be like the Most High. So this is what he's striving to get. He wants that worship. He wants that respect. He wants that honor that really only belongs to the Most High Yahweh. And he accepted it in any form. The Most High Yahweh is strict. Now remember, you hear people say, well, God got many names. Y'all heard that before? Yeah. No, Satan got many names. The Most High Yahweh is one. He got one name. You understand that? But Satan, he'll take that worship in anything. He'll call me Zeus. Call me Woden. You understand what I'm saying? Call me Jesus Christ. Call me Allah. Call me whatever, as long as you pay homage to me. Yep. But the Most High Yahweh is very strict. Keep my commandments. Follow my way. Follow behind my son, which is my word. Man. All right? So he wants to be worshipped. And this is what this is ultimately about. Halloween is the worship of Satan. Let's get 1 Kings 18 to 21.
1 Kings chapter 18, verse 21. Elijah came unto all the people and said, how long halt ye between two opinions? You
see that? So this is Elijah. He came into the people, right? As he was doing battle with the worshipers of Baal. Baal is nothing more than the worship of Satan and the fallen in the form of sun, moon, star worship, so on and so forth. Right? So he said, how long do you halt between what?
Two opinions.
Two opinions. So there's really only two opinions, right? Either Yahweh or Satan. You understand what I'm saying, right? Read on.
If the master be Yahweh, follow him.
You see that? So if Yahweh is the master, then do what he say. Follow him. Worship him, right? Read on.
But if Baal, then follow him.
You see that? But if Baal, then follow him. All right? So Baal, again, is nothing more than Satan. So this, this was Elijah, one of the great prophets of the Most High, putting the people on blast. How long you going to halt between two opinions? And this is what a lot of our people doing today. In the church, so on and so forth. They halting between two opinions. They claim they worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they really giving homage to Satan and all of their deeds, all of their festivals, all of their works. You can't halt between two opinions.
2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 3. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world...
The what?
the God of this world.
You see that? So a lot of people be like, man, I worship God. Okay, you worship a God. What's your God's name? How do you worship him? Does this say right here? Read that again.
In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not.
You see that? So it's a lot of people that don't truly believe in Yahweh. Why? Because they're not keeping the word. So the God of this world is who they actually serve. You know, and that's a sad thing. Because again, when we talk to our people that's in the church, they're worshiping the God of this world in the church. Understand that. Don't you know, a lot of times you feel bad and you I came up in the church and yeah, okay, we all did. But we was worshiping Satan. We're just gonna keep it real, because you wasn't doing nothing that the Most High said. But that's something that we, again, is the two opinions, Yahweh or Hashatan. You know what I'm saying? Hashatan is right now currently the God of this world. We know Yahweh is the power of the universe, right? He controls it all. So he's allowing Hashatan. Remember, when he came to Hamashiach Yahweh, he said, look, this thing has been given to me. All I want you to do is do what? Bow down, give me some worship. I give you all the kings of the world, all the power, all the honor. He did say that, right? Because it was the Most High gave him that power. Go ahead, you can rule it. And this is what mankind to this day, outside of us, that's inside the truth, is they're worshiping Hashatan.
Lest the light of the glorious gospel is in the image of Yahweh should shine unto them.
You see that? And that's the thing, man. So he's blinded the masses of the earth. A lot of our people that's in that church, they claim, they love the Lord and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, right? This is what they say, right? But come so-called next week on the 31st, what they finna have up in there?
Halloween party.
A Halloween party. So how in the world you believe in the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but then you sit here worshiping? I mean, blatantly. This holiday, Christmas is overlaid with real nice. It's really overlaid really nice. This is the birth of Jesus Christ. So you can see how people get deceived with that one. Right. But this one right here is so blatant, it's ridiculous, right? There's nothing but evil put out there. And they bring this in and think that this is cool. This is a harvest festival. What's the harvest? The harvest is what? It's for souls. So even when you listen to the language, this is why you got to really listen to people's language and terminology they use. Well, this is a harvest festival. Yeah, you right. You harvesting people's souls. It's a fall for Satan. Ain't that something?
And tears. So
to the pagans, this thing was called Samhain, as they spell it, Samhain, or like some people say Samhain, but it's really Samhain. All right. It says some believe that Samhain was the most important festival, marking the beginning of a whole new cycle. All right. It says two significant features of this feast is the beginning of the season of darkness and the honoring of ancestors.
But the Celts believed there was even more to Samhain.
What marked Samhain and this transition from light to dark was that time and space became permeable, flexible. And so that spirits, not only of the dead, but of the past or of other realities, could sort of wander into our reality.
All right, so this is actually, they not only are they worshiping Hashatan, they're actually worshiping as they claim, their dead ancestors, which is nothing more than the familiar spirits. It has nothing to do with the ancestors. Because we know, according to Scripture, once you leave your flesh, where you going? You going to Sheol. You're going to find yourself either in Abraham's bosom or the other side. You ain't going to get no chance to just run around and chill out and what have you and go. Because some of them believe that, these spirits come back to their homes. This is the origins of your haunted houses. You understand that? This is what they're really dealing with. They're dealing with the worship of spirits, of unclean spirits. It has nothing to do with the Most High. The heathens at this time, they believe that there's a thin veil between the physical and the spiritual realm that closes in. So now that they can go in and deal with their dead ones and communicate with fallen ancestors, so on and so forth.
Humans could wander out and get lost in the other world as well.
The veil between life and death was at its thinnest, and the living and the dead could commingle. And that's at the root of all the Halloween celebrations. So
again, this is why this time of the year, we got to be spiritually guarded. You have to be. Because I do believe that Hashatan, he's cracking that veil. He's sending more spirits left and right to attack. So we have to be on point. I mean, you got to think about it. We from Detroit, right? Detroit is known for what when it comes to Halloween?
Fires.
What is it called, though? for Devil's Night. Do you know we're known across the country for that? We started that here.
Detroit firefighters are bracing for Devil's Night. That's the annual pre-Halloween arson spree. Last year, 281 blazes were reported. City officials are taking steps to try and stop the fires. Youths under the age of 18 will be under a dusk to dawn curfew tonight, and more than 35,000 volunteers will watch vacant buildings and patrol neighborhoods with fire extinguishers.
It's no coincidence that when those pagans wanted to put that Baphomet statue downtown, that they said, yes, we selected Detroit because the spiritual energy there was inviting.
There's one devilish controversy, a statue being unveiled right here in Detroit.
But the group putting on this date with the devil is keeping some things a secret for now. 7 Action News reporter Ross Jones here with the strange story, and this is strange.
Very strange. Some have called this a publicity stunt, guys. Others say that it's just purely sinister. Whatever you want to call it, the group putting it on says you can't stop it. But the devilish statue is still on its way. Now planned to be unveiled this Saturday at an undisclosed location somewhere in Detroit. The event is being put on by the Satanic Temple.
So they understood that Detroit got some heavy demonic spirits around it. That's pretty much what it's telling you. All right? So we got to be on point with that. Now, they turn around and turn into what? What is it now?
Angels Night.
Angels Night. So now what do these demons do? They put on that cloak of what? Of light. Now we coming, we're angels now. We're not, but it's still the same practices going on. Right? And what do they start with? Where do they start this at? When you in child phase. So when you bring this to our people, you say, look, this thing is wicked. What do they say? Well, this is for the children.
Yeah, we're going to do it for the kids.
Right. This is like, again, anytime you want to know about these paganistic practices, all of their holidays is pagan. Flat out, right? Go to the witches themselves to get that definition, right? To get what they actually are into. So this is taken from their own records. So under Samhain, which is the 31st of October, read those highlighted sections.
Samhain or Halloween is the death festival.
It's the what?
The death festival.
So notice this. In the church, they say that they're doing what? They're having a harvest festival, right? Mm-hmm. So they harvesting souls for what?
For death.
For death, right? Read on.
Marking the descent of winter. The horned god.
The who?
The horned god.
Notice this. The horned god, right? Now again, those heathens they wanted to put what downtown? The Baphomet statue. Don't he got horns? Yeah. Absolutely, because he's the goat head, right? Read on.
The horned god who was the Lord of life.
He was the what?
The Lord of life.
You see that? Ain't that something? Who's the Lord of life? Who's the master of life? None but Yahweh. Not no horned deity. What is this? Right? Read.
And the wild greenwood has now truly taken his throne as Lord of the underworld.
He's done what?
Has taken his throne as Lord of the underworld.
You see that? So this is talking about none other than Ha-Shatan, right? Because he deals in nothing but darkness and death. He came to do what? Kill, steal, and destroy. That's what he operates in. Understand what I'm saying? But let's get Deuteronomy 18 and pick it up at the 10th verse. So we understand that this so-called Halloween festival is an actual worship of the dead, all right? It's a communication with the dead and other so-called familiar spirits.
Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire.
Stop right there. So it says there shall not be found among you any that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, right? So in this particular time of the year, this is why a lot of children come up what? Missing. Because they are being utilized for child sacrifice. And
Glenn Hobbs was initiated into a satanic coven as a child by his grandfather and continued participating for many years. I recently asked Glenn about his involvement and the importance of Halloween to the occultist. Glenn, could you tell us about your involvement in any rituals at Halloween as a child?
There was another little girl that was involved in the occult with me, and her name was Becky. Now Becky was a different type of child. She was blessed to be a sacrifice. Now Halloween night, they had again put me and the little girl in the back of this van, and we again drove off, which seemed like for a long time. We were drugged once again, and we finally came to this stop. They took the little girl out and they left me in the van. Finally, a woman came to the back of the van and she said, "It's time to go." And she brought me out of the van, and I could see that there was just a lot of people around. Some were dressed in dark brownish kind of robes with hoods over them. They took me up and they led me up to this stone altar. And I remember I saw the little girl, and she was on the altar. Now, at first, you know, I just wondered what was going on, because you never knew. I mean, they used the altar for a lot of different things. They could have just been sacrificing an animal over, could have been a sexual abuse from the high priest on to her. You know, it was a hard thing to know for sure. Well, they ushered me up to the altar, and I could see that they had bound her feet. They had her feet spread apart, her legs, and they had bound them to the ends of the altar, and they had taken her arms, which were laying out this way, and roped them to the altar, which had little kind of like hooks, which they could bind the ropes around. And she was really white. I remember seeing her, and she was just real pale and real white. And I noticed that they had slit the bottoms of her feet and her wrists.
They're being burned alive to the god Molech, which is, again, none other than Hashetan. So this is why, you know, during this time, really keep an eye on your children. Spiritually, a lot of our people, when our people are allowing our children to celebrate this thing, what are you doing? You spiritually sacrificing your child to Molech. You understand? Because you're giving them over to that wickedness, right? So read Deuteronomy 18, verse 9. Let's see what the Most High said.
Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 9. When you are coming to the land which Yahweh your power gives you, you shall not learn to do after the abominations of those nations.
You shall not do what?
Do after the abominations of those nations.
See, that's what the Most High said. He told us when we was going into our land, we shall not learn to do after the abominations of these nations. With us following behind these Gentiles that brought us as slaves, and following behind Samhain, aka Halloween, we're doing that same thing that the Most High commanded us not to do. And these things are nothing but abominations. So read on to the 10th verse.
You shall not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or one that practices sorcery, or an enchanter, or a witch.
You see that? So again, no divination, no tarot card reading, right? No dealing with mediums and channeling and all these different things. And this is what they doing big time around this time. They communicate with those familiar spirits to get so-called wisdom and so on and so forth, right? The Most High do not want us dealing with that. And then they, on top of that, you know, we're going to have a lot of people dressing up with this elaborate, you know, a lot of people going to be witches, you know, all these different things, warlocks, all this madness, you know. Now, the sad thing is, these pagans felt that at this time, right, you're going to have all these different sacrifices, these child sacrifices, human sacrifices going on. And with that, they knew that there was going to be a lot of heavy demonic activity. So one of the origins of them putting on so-called Halloween costumes was to blend in with those spirits. So this is why they would dress up in all these different demonic things, so that when those spirits are roaming around, they felt like, okay, the spirit will see me and know that I'm evil too.
One of Halloween's most colorful icons, the mask.
In Britain, they got into some very particular forms that involved dressing in costumes and going house to house.
Many of these customs survived only in rural areas, but they would soon turn up in the city streets.
Understand what I'm saying? It's just that wicked, you know? What they would do after the human sacrifices, right? When you're dealing with the origins of the jack-o'-lantern, because you see that around a lot, right? Carving the faces on the pumpkins, that seems harmless, right? But in all reality, it's not. Because they would take the fat of these people that they have killed, form it into a candle, hollow out this so-called jack-o'-lantern, and then burn this thing. And this thing in their minds was to be able to ward off evil spirits. But in all reality, what is it really doing? Inviting those spirits. And this is what the Druids, those priests that really practice this thing, this is one of the things that they will go around and do. These people will actually go to your door, and guess what they would put on your door? If they wanted to get some sacrifice out. Guess what they would put on your door? A 6-pointed star, which is what they call the so-called hexagram. So they would use that as a mark, because they know, okay, we need some sacrifice from out of you. But again, the whole aspect of the trick-or-treating, you know, that origin of that was because when these deities come out, as they thought, and will go from door to door, that either the druid said, look, either you gonna offer this treat. The behind the scenes was you gonna either give us a sacrifice from out of your family, or we're gonna bring some death into it. You understand what I'm saying? That was the true origin of trick-or-treating. Yeah. Had nothing to do with no candy. But if you gave them that sacrifice, then they would, you know, leave behind your so-called blessing. And it was nothing but a trick, right? They would leave that blessing so those demonic forces, once released, wouldn't come into your home. But it was complete foolishness. This is why the Most High say that, man, he gave us into a hand of a foolish people. These people do not understand what they're doing, man. And every year, you see the Halloween celebrations in Hollywood get more and more elaborate, you know, and what have you, just around. They get more and more outlandish. You understand what I'm saying? Complete evil.
Also, real quick.
Go ahead.
I know a lot of our people nowadays are getting into what we call like New Age. And this New Age philosophy is basically everything that we see within verses 11 down to, verse 10 down to 11. But New Age now, it's like how they're portraying it is that this is a white man's book, and that they demonized our original religion, which is witchcraft, etc., etc. And so you have it where people will say, I'm raising my chakra, my vibes, or I do tarot readings, or I do, all of these different philosophies, which really are nothing but sorcery. Right. And, a charming and etc., etc. And they're using those as ways to say that they're awake.
Right.
This fallacy of being awake, and all of that comes from just pretty much, time forming himself to be like the light.
Right.
And demonizing what the scripture is really saying by people not knowing that this book is really ours.
Right. Absolutely. And the sad thing is, like you say, when people try to open up their chakras, right? The 7 portions of the body. Now, when you go into our records, like even when you go into the 12 patriarchs, it lets you know we do have 7 regions. Like, that's not made up. You understand that, right? But the thing is, what they are trying to do, like for example, the bottom chakra, they call, they call it the Kundalini, right? Well, this is what they call open up the Kundalini. So they say that this spirit that's at the bottom portion of the lower chakra is the serpent. And then you have to, when you open it up, now you start to open up that serpent to rise up to that portion, your pineal gland. You understand? But really, if you got the serpent within you, what do you got in you? It's Shaitan. It's not the Most High. You understand what I'm saying? So again, we have to guard against these things. But read the 11th verse.
Verse 11. Or a charmer.
Or a what?
A charmer.
Oh, so a charmer is somebody that uses different spells and what have you. So again, around this time, they really kick off their spells and wickedness around the scene, right? For example, they made Harry Potter, right, which is nothing more than straight up witchcraft. They made that a popular thing. You know how many people thought that was a cool thing? It was complete evil, right? But it says what or what else?
Or a consulter with familiar spirits.
And this is what they're doing. When they saying we want to contact our ancestors and we're leaving food out for our ancestors and we want to communicate with those that came before us, it's really dealing with those familiar spirits. But what's the origin of the familiar spirits? Huh? Let's read it. Let's go to Enoch 15. Let's see. Let's see what these so-called familiar spirits, or these spirits that they want to communicate with during Halloween, where do they really originate from?
Enoch chapter 15 and verse 7. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth.
You see that? So the giants, right? When those Malakim, those Malakim and angels came down and dealt with those women, they produced giants. Understand that. But the Most High destroyed those giants during the flood. But something took place, right? Read on.
And on the earth shall be their dwelling.
You see that? He said they're going to be called evil spirits, and on earth shall be their dwelling, right? Read.
Verse 8. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies.
Read that again.
Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies. Because they are born from men, and from the set apart watchers is their beginning and primal origin.
You see that? So these evil spirits are the conglomerate of the angels that came down and the women. All right. So that's their beginning, right? But let's see something, right? Read.
They shall be evil spirits on the earth, and evil spirits they shall be called.
You see that? And that's exactly what these people are dealing with so-called Halloween. They are communicating with these evil spirits. Let's see what these evil spirits do. All right, read.
And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth.
You see that? So this is why, again, at this time, they felt, okay, that veil, that spiritual veil is open, you know what I'm saying? And them spirits is going to be able to roam. And it was causing much havoc. Why? Because, again, they were actually worshiping them. You know, they was opening up that doorway. This is why, like the brother was bringing out, we have to keep our eye gates, our ear gates closed to this matter. And stay in Yahweh, because that's your only protection. You know? Because they come to do what? Afflict, oppress, destroy, and attack. So all of those things is nothing but what? Warfare. That's all they coming to do, right? Read on.
And cause trouble. They take no food.
But do what?
But nevertheless, hunger and thirst.
You see that? So they take, again, they eat, you know what I'm saying? But they don't stick to them, right? It's a, but they nevertheless hunger and thirst. So now this is the main reason. Remember when Hamashiach Yahushua was confronted with certain spirits, right? And the apostles, they said, wait a minute, we couldn't cast that spirit out. So what did the Hamashiach tell them? This one does not come out but what? By what? Fasting and prayer. You understand that? That was the spiritual reason why he told them that. Because that spirit that attached to that person, in order to really drive it out, you got to fast. You got to shut that body down. You got to shut the flesh down. Because now this spirit is going to be like, man, I got to get up out of here. Because he hungry, he thirsty, he want to eat, he want to drink and all that. He want to control your whole thing. But once you shut him down and then start focusing on the Most High, or people fast and pray for you, the Most High will chase that spirit out. You got to go. That's why the scriptures also say how that spirit would leave a man. And he'll travel through dry places, and he's trying to find somewhere else to go. That's why we got to be on point, because again, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. When we see a lot of things, a lot of evil things going on with people, you're not wrestling against flesh and blood. You're wrestling against these different demonic forces. So this is why we got to start calling that stuff out. When it's off, call it out in the spirit of Yahweh and rebuke it. Because that's our power and our strength, right? Read on.
And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them.
And this is what's going on today. And again, during this dark time of the year, so-called Halloween, during this particular festival of the pagans, this is what they're opening up. And this is why, again, we must be vigilant.
You should not go after other gods, of the gods of the people which you are round about you.
You see that? So the Most High said those gods that are being worshipped of the people that's round about us, we should not go after them. And this is why it behooves our people to do the proper research. Don't just worship something. You know what I'm saying? Why don't people just keep holidays? We don't know the origin of it. Right. We don't ask questions. None of that. For example, right? What was one of the biggest games that was played on Halloween? One of the most fun games that you would do at a Halloween party. Bob for apples, right? But check it out. Understand the origin of Bob for apples. The Druid priests, when they would come to them homes and ask for them sacrifices, they would have a gang of sacrifices laid up. They would make out of wicker. It's like a strong material, like a straw material. Yeah. So they would create this gigantic man in the form of a cage, right? And those sacrifices, those people that was to be sacrificed would be placed into this thing and all burnt alive. All right? This is how they were sacrificing, the Druids. What they would do is they would take boiling, what they call like what we drink today, apple cider, right? This is one of the times where you want to get some apple cider and nice warm donuts from the cider mill, right? They would take this type of fluid in this gigantic black cauldron and heat it up beyond, like boiling beyond. So the sacrifices that they would lay out, they would say, okay, if you can go in there and pull out an apple with one try, we'll free you. Sure how wicked they were. Because I mean, imagine that, right? Who wouldn't go after that try? But imagine you sticking your face in some boiling hot water, and in one try, you got to grasp this apple and pull it out so you can be free. Because if you don't get free, you already know I'm going to be put into this wicked man and burnt alive. How barbaric these people were. And here it comes down to us, and we go to parties, and they fill up this little tin can, and you know what I'm saying, and you go down there and buy for apples and all this other man. Why didn't our people ask questions? What is this? Where did this come from? Because the information has always been there.
Truth is our dogma. We believe it to be man's greatest weapon against the devil.